All right, what's up, guys?
Hello,
Hey.
hello.
So we're excited for podcast number 2 for House of Music. We're dubbing it HOMTV, so make sure you give us a like and a follow. Follow us on YouTube.
Woo.
You can see us at House of Music Orland. And our guests today, we've got Johnny and we've got
Julian.
Sorry, I know your name. I know your name.
No problem.
So these guys are from Sunset Drip. You guys may have heard of them. We had them play at Summerfest in Orland this summer because they got to win our Battle of the Bands on May 1st. And there were two other crazy bands that were playing, and you guys topped them off. So that was pretty awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
No, not to discredit ourselves or discredit the judges, but the other two bands, they were just as good. Oak Park and Plethora, you guys rock. Shout out to them. Give them both a listen. Plethora definitely has music released, and it's definitely worth a listen. Oak Park is still pretty fresh, so I don't think they have music out, but shout out to both those guys. And yeah, thank you guys for having us not only at the Battle of the Bands, but we've played here many a times. We got to play at Summerfest, which was a ton of fun. You guys have done a lot for us, and we're nothing but grateful.
Yeah, we're excited to have you today. You know, I heard that you guys were talking about some new projects that you're working on, so why don't we dive into that a little bit?
Here we are. Well, this weekend, as of now, we're gonna be heading to our bass player's grandma's lake house, and we're gonna call it the Drip Lake House at some point. Gonna bring
Yeah,
it-
come up with some name.
The
I'll
Drip
trademark
House.
Market.
Yeah, the John's grandmother's lake
Uh-huh.
house.
But we are setting up recordings for the next couple EPs that we have coming. We're already finished with the first one, so we're finalizing the masters on that. But we got like a bunch of drum tracks recorded from earlier in the month, and now we're gonna jump on top of that, keep it going.
Not
Of
only
course, more
that, but we were
writing.
almost finished with overdubs for EP2.
That's right, yeah. We're very close, yeah.
So EP2
Um,
coming out soon. Then we've got the drums tracked for a hypothetical EP3, and we're about to head out to start recording more stuff.
More and more.
You guys have 2 released on YouTube right now. You've got started with a J.
We got Jitters.
Jitters, and then you had the
Got it.
Ministry of I can't think of the
Ah.
name. You gotta give it to me.
Ministry of Peace, Ministry of Love, or Ministry of Truth?
Ministry of Truth.
Ah, there you go. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
There we go.
I took inspiration from the name from George Orwell's 1984. Ministry of Truths are very real things, but I'm writing a trio of songs based on the 3 that he highlights in 1984.
Okay. Okay, very cool. So, like, how long did it take for you guys to put those projects together?
Too long.
Very, very long. I like Ministry and Jitters were like the first 2 songs that we like started to work on as a band, really. And there's a couple others from like one from the next EP and the other from this current EP. It's crazy the amount of time that we spent on it, and there's been many. Think the end of I don't know even the time of it, but there's been many shows where we've been like, it's done, not done. It's like nowhere near done, but we're trying to push it out. And I think it was definitely worth all of the work that went into it. Like with Ministry, it's an insane mix. If anyone hears it, the mix is definitely unlike others out there. Not saying it's better or worse,
Yeah,
more than
exactly.
it's like just very unique, separate from others. And long weekends of just sending different mixes back and forth. This should be turned up. This should be turned down.
A lot of time that's where it used to be, and we are now on. Not to interrupt you, sorry.
Good.
But to jump in, like a lot of what took us so long for the first releases is now we're really set up for like everything after. Like we had the EP2 stuff recorded, and we've been doing overdubs, and the whole time a big focus for us has been we're doing everything home recorded just for, the budget that we are as a band right now. It's the smartest decision. I can't tell you how many bands in the local scene I know that have poured, $3,000 into their first 5-song EP, and then nobody listens to it, and that's the end of that band. And so for us, it's like, all right, let's, we got microphones, we have a space to record, we have all our equipment, and having worked with we've both gone to school and taken engineering classes. We both went to school initially for music, and we both ended up dropping out because we were like different reasons. We don't need to
Yeah.
get
Well, it's
into
like a
it.
trade. Like, you get really good at your trade, and,
Right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
And so we didn't have the confidence in ourselves to like mix it at first. So we did send it off to get mixed and we heard a mix and we were like, eh. And so we realized we really do like what we're doing with the mixing. And it's been a big process of like learning this whole time, like learning how to record, learning how to mix, learning how to
mhm.
master. And now that we've had one released and like two released, it feels like we're going to be able to go faster and faster and start releasing stuff more. And so I guess I'm saying that out loud as a like a you heard it here first, folks. We're holding
Mhm.
ourselves to it to the public, but we've got more stuff
Well,
coming.
that's really interesting though too, because like a lot of artists that you hear on the radio, like they all go through record labels or whatever it may be. And whenever I hear of like those one or two artists that are like they made their own company, they're doing all the work themselves. It's like there's just a different kind of respect for those people because you have a certain control over your sound that isn't influenced by like an outer view, and you guys
Right.
are be able to like create it yourselves, and that takes a lot of work, especially like even when I play and I listen back on a video and I'm like, oh, like that's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it. And to be able to get over like those feelings of like self
Mhm.
consciousness while you're listening back to your work, be able to critique it with like full, what's the word? Like constructively
Yeah.
and like not overthink it. Like it's a lot. It takes a
Yeah.
while. Speaking of which, I wanted to ask, how long have you guys been in a band together? How long has Sunset Drip been around?
Since what, the end of 2022?
Yeah, like December 2022.
Yeah,
So really just about we're coming on 2 years. Well, we'll
man.
be oh yeah, 2 years at the end of 2024. So about a year and a half right now. And
Okay.
we've got a long story. He's known our drummer since they were children. I
Mhm.
met the drummer when he was 12. That's kind of how the connection stayed glued. And then at some point he said, he said to me after we had formed a little thing, you've got to hear this guy's stuff. And listening to Julian's songs, it was the first songwriter I've ever heard where I was like, it was like if somebody brainwashed me and told me you wrote like here's all your music and they mixed in Julian's music with my music, I wouldn't able to like differentiate like, oh, this one's Julian, this one's mine, this one's Julian, this one's mine. It felt like such a like, yo, where's this
Mhm.
songwriter been all my life? And
Yeah,
like,
the the having like two collaborative songwriters in a band, especially when each of us have both sort of had the more I am the songwriter of the group. My last
yeah,
band, it was me and the other guitarist who did most of the writing, but I did take on way more of a leadership role for that, and especially with like recording and producing. But to be able to write these songs together and not instead of like shooting down ideas, rather changing them and altering them to fit each other's sound.
yes,
Yeah, it can kind of be like a battle when you have two people who kind of want to lead a little bit,
Hmm.
and it's kind of it's good to have the chemistry to be able to work together rather than feeling like, "Oh, I'm afraid I'm stepping on this guy's toes," or "I'm afraid that I'm offending him," or
for
"Oh,
sure.
I don't like this guy's idea, like I want it to go my
Right.
way." But like being able to find that medium where you guys can both create at the same time. So,
Absolutely.
like together, that's awesome.
Yeah, we have a try it mentality. Like try it, see if you like it, because sometimes when you are the songwriter, it's I don't like that idea, and you do have that initial. And now we have learned to shoot that feeling down because it's like you
Hmm.
haven't even heard it yet.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
haven't even heard the idea, so hear the idea, and then if you like it, change it. And then sometimes what happens if like somebody else has an idea, they might keep like sticking that idea in
Yeah,
there.
a
Like you might say
sprinkle.
like, I don't know about that idea, and they're like, but they do. So they keep trying to sprinkle it in and figure it in, and eventually, like maybe they sprinkle it in a way where you're like, that's how you do it. That's how it's
Hmm.
gonna be in the recording. And then especially too, I think we really do have a respect of like the end goal. Like when we have like a specific song, like Ministry of Truth, like everything Julian added to it made it so much more than it would have been if I was the only one making contributions to the arrangement, to the production, to the songwriting. And like, well, the songwriting that one I did mostly myself, but I would say Julian added
Right.
absolutely like arrangements and production where it's like, yo, it's taking it to that next level. And then same thing with Jitters, where like I added arrangement and production to this song that he had. That's now it's like to me even I feel really like, and that's how it becomes too. Is when you write the song, you're like, this is my baby.
Right.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what the drummer didn't write this song, but the drummer, that's his baby too because he's playing the drums and he has to play it every day. That's
Yeah.
that thing I hear of like local songwriters who are like, I want the drummer to play everything like the drums. I want them to play everything like the bass. And I'm like, do you really think you're like, how much are you paying this guy to do that? Oh, nothing because I'm a local artist. And it's like, well, there you go. And then the band falls apart. So it is the biggest, like the most core important thing to us. It's not the song. It really is, at the end of the day, you got to nurture the relationship with each other. Because if you get in a
Yeah.
screaming match and break up over one song, who really cares about that song? Like,
Mhm.
see, you
Right.
just lost the whole band for what? Because the drummer wanted to play a fill where you didn't want to play him to play a fill? Like,
Mhm.
shut up.
That
So, like, for the people who might be listening who are songwriters themselves, maybe they're just starting out, maybe they've been writing for a little while, but they're kind of not sure where to go with it. What's one thing that you wish you knew maybe 3, 4 years ago in terms of like writing music? Like, what's one thing that you wish you knew about
when
that maybe you've learned in the
when you
process?
mentioned like that the sort of the concept of just overthinking, certain parts of the song,
Mm,
when you're in that state of mind, it's really easy to latch onto the idea that doesn't work. You just don't know it yet, but you need some outside influence to be like, hold on, this guitar part that you're doing, it may sound cool and melodic to you right now, but as a listener, I think that's the other thing. You have to write it as a listener more
yes.
than just the songwriter. Um, and maybe that's specifically a band thing, like a one-on-one kind of dynamic, but just having that outside influence, but avoiding that process of overthinking and doing what you think won't sound good. Just try it out. You gotta hear it first.
Yeah,
I live by you know, man. I'll try anything once. You
Mm-hmm.
give
for
everything a
sure.
chance. You know, don't make judgments before you try things.
Yes.
Um, I was gonna say, what is kind of like the fuel that leads into your creative process? Like, why do you write? Like, is it for yourself? Is it
Mm.
like a therapeutic thing? Is it like, why do you guys write music?
I'll
Why
jump in
do
here
I?
because my thought for like the last question too, I was actually about to say like you
Hmm.
got to keep the machine fueled. In
Mm-hmm.
terms of like something I wish I knew 4 years ago is like, do not burn yourself out. It like no matter how my biggest like songwriting inspiration is this guy named Stu McKenzie, who's the songwriter for King. He's the main songwriter for King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and I've heard like insane quotes about the people surrounding him, talk about his work ethic. And at the end of the day, you're going to hear all that work ethic stuff and you're going to think, "Oh, this person's just like driving themselves crazy. They're a madman XYZ." And you might even reach a point where you're like, "I can't do it. I don't have the craziness." But you read into people like who have that level of work ethic, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, there's a book written by Phil Jackson who was both of their coaches, and he was teaching them, all this spiritual stuff to heal your inner self. It's not all physical. And with music, like a little of it's physical. I mean, you can absolutely injure yourself and there's a massive physical
Mm-hmm.
part of it. But when you're songwriting, I mean, seriously, make it physical. Like, 'cause how many times are you songwriting at a desk and you're sitting there? You're at your desk writing a song to the desk. Move yourself either physically or
Yeah.
move yourself spiritually in your head, where either go out for a walk and look at the birds, and just you hearing the birds singing is going to inspire you a little bit. Or move yourself, like I said, spiritually, like mentally. Put yourself on stage in front of the crowd and like imagine, what do I want to play to these people who are in front of me right now at this moment. And then every day, wake up, give yourself affirmations. Look yourself in the mirror. I'm a great songwriter. I'm a massive talent. I work hard. And then when you're feeling yourself like you're burning out, tell yourself, give yourself that reward. Give yourself like, "Hey, I'm working so hard right now. I'm exerting my willpower. I deserve a good pat on the back," and motivate yourself and keep yourself positive and never fall into that. Never fall into that I'm a shitty songwriter. Never
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bad songwriter. Never fall into that I'm a bad songwriter. I'm worthless. Just never fall into that pit. Always make sure you're being aware, you're being conscious of that moment. Keep yourself positive. Keep yourself, like, the song, in terms of how much the song matters, it's like I said earlier, the song matters 1%, you matter 99%.
Mm-hmm.
So take care of yourself and the song will happen
I
naturally.
like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
You said like go out for a walk and like move yourself. I I found that I write the best when I'm literally walking.
Hmm.
And like some people will say you shouldn't write on your phone, like in your notes app. Yeah, but it's right there, and I got it. It's real quick, and I can jot the idea down. But like,
That's an important thing too, is get the idea down on
Any way
paper.
you can. If
Yes.
you have paper nearby and a pen,
The
whatever, just
iPhone.
do
I
it.
gotta record it or I'm gonna forget it.
Yes. If it's a
Exactly.
melody, record it. Do
I'll-
not write down do 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 do.
Mhm.
Actually, when I go into a writing session, I put my phone, I just hit record and I call it like word vomit and I'll just start singing about whatever. And sometimes things will catch on or like I'll wander around the room or like I'll try out different chords or try out some words or just
Mhm.
not try to have a point all the time as to why I'm writing, but just see
Yeah.
what comes out. And sometimes those things stick. And if I'm recording it, I could boom. What was it I just said 0.3 seconds ago?
Right.
I have no idea, but it's down on the phone.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I work at Home Depot. I write a lot when I'm just like walking the aisles at Home Depot. I'm kind of looking around, and it's different than when I'm in my room at my desk or on my bed. Because when I'm there, all I see is I'm in my room,
Yeah.
my hand, my phone, or my pen, paper, my bed, or my desk, and that's all I see. There's no other input. But when you're outside, anywhere in the store, outside, just looking at whatever different colors, different shapes and objects, it changes your brain to think a different way instead of zoning in on this state of quiet, right, keep going.
Yeah.
So, like, once you've written the song and you guys have put out 2 projects, what was it like to listen back to your first finished project?
Ooh.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, feels great. Feels so good. I mean, this is a moment I've been waiting for since I was like, I've been playing guitar since I was 8, and I've in the past started projects with bands. I've been in recording studios, and I've literally been in places where it was usually me being the roadblock, being like, yeah, I'm not putting this out. The drums aren't good. This isn't good. Like, it's just not good enough. And that was a huge thing for me getting over, is like, this is good enough, and like, this is all home recorded. And the biggest critique we've received on the release is, it sounds like it was home recorded, and it's like, it was, you know? And so it's like, hopefully if we get to a point, you know, I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought.
I mean, well, like hearing when it comes out, I think a lot of artists like at least after like a couple days of hearing it out. Usually, I try to not listen to it, but I can't help it. I want to hear it. I like the song too, and it's really easy to get yourself in the state of mind of there's a mistake there.
Yeah.
Once it's out.
I find that
And
it's 2 different mentalities. I'm either looking for mistakes or enjoying, and I can't do both at the same time.
Hmm.
Cause I mean, and I guess like it boils down to you're either looking for mistakes or you're enjoying the song.
Hmm.
And like with like Jitters or in Ministry that they're both out, I can point out this and that. Like if I were to change it differently now, I would do this. Well, so I'm sure the Beatles would have like changed a bunch of
Right.
things on Rubber Soul or Abbey Road.
Yeah,
For
that's
just
a big
one little
thing that
thing.
helps, is remembering that the Beatles worked with like a 4-track and they had to stack it down. So
Yeah.
it's like drums recorded, now they've mixed and mastered it down, and it's like, that's it, can't touch the drums anymore. And so I try to remember like, yo, like the Beatles had the same regrets that we had.
Absolutely. But getting over it is being like the song's out, people clearly like it, so there's no reason for me to dwell on this and be like, oh, it doesn't work for me right now, but it works for the listener, and that's like the most important part of having it released and being okay with it, to me.
What was like, was there any big struggle that you guys had with writing or producing either Jitters or Ministry?
I think it was just a
Mhm.
length thing of like really trying to figure out what our style was and what like work with the home studio recordings. That was pretty much the biggest like
Yeah.
hurdle to get over with these initial releases.
Yeah, you'll get like a balanced sound, and it sounds good, but it's like, yeah, but it's not drip yet. It's not Sunset
Yeah.
Drip sound yet.
Our drummer too, he comes from a background of like punk drumming and rock drumming, and so he had a tendency to like rush a little bit and really play like fast. And so we did have to work with him a little bit on getting his tempo like solidified and locking in, and he's locked in now. It's really exciting to see. He's really put a lot of effort into it. He's a loud player, and he's even starting to finally play quieter a little bit.
That's always good. Important for a drummer because I mean, it's
Yes.
you can get loud without even realizing it,
Yeah.
but the dramatic effect of like just like bringing
Yes.
it down and
Mhm.
like you could just shake the audience with a quiet sound.
Yeah.
100%.
So, oh, I was just gonna ask something.
You're all good.
Um, what was something like? Did you ever feel like you were living a pipe dream while you were making your music? Did you ever feel like it wasn't going to happen?
No, because I mean, we're in a place right now where it's like we're all living with our parents. Like we're still
Yeah.
like young dudes.
Yeah, I don't know, like I to me like kind of have to compare it to bands that have already made it, and it's a very different story of uh each band has a different story of how they perceived their success and their growth. Some really like some bands have this mentality of like we are so good and we're gonna keep going for it, and there are others that just could not believe at all that like they're playing it in front of 20,000 people. Um, and to our level, a much shrunken down level. Uh, I don't know. There are moments where I think when we're recording or producing a song, where it's like this sounds like way too good. It's definitely like sort of an ego thing, but like you gotta pat yourself on the back sometimes.
You do.
And there are
It's that
other
positive thing.
for sure, and there are other moments where you'd be like, okay, this clearly sounds horrible. I need a break
Yeah.
from it, and I don't know. I don't feel like I've been in like a dream state at all with uh any of our progress. It feels very like focused, conscious about it, and I don't know,
Yeah.
driving.
It's like we were kind of talking before the podcast how like we played a show to a bar recently and there were like 5 people there maybe, and one of those 5 people came to like our next show and was like, I had to see you guys again. And like it's little things like that where it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a pipe dream. It literally feels like we were like grinding, like we're on the grindstone, like one person at a time, if that's what it takes. And for us, it is like there's a level too of like we've gone out and seen older bands that are like, you know, they're playing in a bar and they're playing to like 10 people and it's like that is not what we want. Like I like not to be
Of
like not to
course.
disparage that, but like
No band wants that,
no band
really.
wants that. But your parent like our parents are will, you know, are the people who are encouraging our lives are like, well, you know, you get the main job and then the music's a hobby. You know, that's the thing we
I've heard the
always
same
hear.
thing.
It's what we
Yeah.
all
Always.
hear. And so for us, like seeing what letting this become a hobby is like I feel like that's
like death.
it's a memento
Yeah.
mori for us for sure. Like remember that you can die, remember that you can turn into this bar band that's playing in front of nobody and like and they're playing, you know, cover stuff too. And not only that, but at that level, it's they all have full-time jobs, they all have, you know, families, so you're listening to the drum. Like I listen to Nick play the drums now and I'm like, if Nick has a wife and kids and a full-time job, there's just not a chance he's going to be able to play the drums like that. So there is a level of like we're on the grindstone right now and it's like we've got to get it to a place where we can keep doing it. We want to keep doing it at the level we're doing it right now.
And while we're young, before
yeah.
we grow
Mhm.
into that, you know,
Yeah.
life. I think, you know, most of us here will probably have a family and have kids and all those
Mhm.
things. And like now is the time while we're in our 20s to like kind of experiment, go places. Speaking of which, I wanted to ask, what was like the coolest place that you've played at like with Sunset Drip?
To me, you see, it's a tie between Fallen Log or I think Diablo Fest even.
Oh, Diablo
like-
Fest is really cool.
And Diablo Fest is a big outlier of every venue that we've played. It's definitely I I guess it was smaller, but it was a different, I guess, energy of being. I should probably explain what Diablo Fest is. There's an artist called Rumi Levine.
It
And,
definitely wasn't small too. It was definitely at the time that was one of the biggest shows we had played.
I guess so, yeah. But there's an artist called Rumi Levine who does this hyper pop, hyper rap, extreme rap kind of genre. And having a couple bands at that place in this emptied out little strip mall, just go insanely hard in a loud ass emptied out little mall.
It was like the room was like like you've been in a salon, right?
Yeah,
To me, it was very
salon.
clearly like an emptied out salon. Like there were no tables, no nothing. It was just like an empty room.
But I don't know, and like being there, it was clearly like people are here for the music. They're here to have fun. There's no bar, there's no
Yeah.
TV, there's nothing else but like people coming here to l- get loose, get cathartic with music.
We've got the video of that on our YouTube. Go check it out.
Mm.
It's so cool. I mean, we're playing right to people's faces, and people are all around us, and then mosh pits break
Oh,
out.
that's awesome.
And it's really cool in the video too. Actually, I did a guitar solo where I like ran into the crowd, and my partner, my current partner, we like saw each other face to face for the first time while I was playing a guitar solo, like during a song, and it's like on video where I like
Oh,
look up
that's
and I'm
so
like,
cool.
like whoa. But that one was really cool. And then shout out, so Diablo Fest now is Y2K. So if anybody's looking
Yes.
to follow that festival, they changed the name. Um, the other place we played, Fallen Log,
Hmm.
awesome place. They have
Just a
these,
beautiful venue.
yes,
I love it.
they have these beautiful lights set up. They have this like skeleton chandelier. It's just a sweet room for artists to be playing in. Another really cool one we played. I feel like house shows are always really
Oh
cool,
yeah.
which
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
could lead us into we played. We've thrown a house show ourselves. We've played a house shows. House shows are always insane. You're always in like a grimy little basement,
Mhm.
and there might be like 30 people there, but that basement's only meant to store like 2.5 people.
Technically, yeah.
So like there's 30 people in this basement, and it feels like you're playing to a stadium because the room is just screaming at you. Between songs, the room's just like, oh my god, blah, 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 and
Mhm.
everyone's just, it's that level of talking where it sounds, just the room is full of sound, and then you go, what's up? And they go, ah! But we also threw a show at where we record, Pisces Studios, Julian's house. We've dubbed it Pisces Studios.
Yes.
We threw a show in the garage, and that was insane. And so this year we decided to follow that up. We're not only having a garage show, but we're having a show all day outside, and then at the end of the show we'll move into the garage. This is known as Drip Fest 2024.
You heard
Very
it here,
excited to
folks.
put it on.
Drip Fest. When is it gonna be?
August 17th. Should I say can I drop the address here if people are
No.
listening? Okay.
No.
All right.
You gotta
Ta-
follow them on all their social media and message them if you want in.
All you have
Yeah.
to do is text 815-412-4061. Text DRIP to that number. DRIP to 815-412-4061, and we'll send you the address.
Boom. So, like, what kind of bands are you guys anticipating having?
Oh!
Let us tell
We've got the lineup. We've got everything planned out and good. So August 17th, it's going to be 3 to 11 p.m. Pisces Studios, it's going to start outside in the backyard. We have Naomi 10 Million, which is a brilliant jazz band. They're a little jazz piece. They do these alternative things, and then they've got a guy in there who's like a multi-instrumentalist who plays the clarinet, he plays the flute, he whips out a trombone, he whips out a trumpet for like in between, like he'll be in the middle of a song, he'll do a clarinet thing, and then he'll come over and it's like, yo.
So cool.
We got those guys. We have Crowd Vulture, which is a progressive
Oh,
rock
I know
band.
those guys. They're
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Crowd Vulture rocks. They're a local band. They have like 3 songs written, and one of them is a 20-minute prog piece.
Yeah, I've heard them like
Ridiculous.
practicing it, recording it. And,
Yes.
they're a cool mixture of like metal and almost like jazz. I've heard some songs have a little
Yeah.
bit more
Yes.
swanky in
Very-
them.
Yes.
Like, it's super cool.
Yes, they're very modern progressive rock, and I'm a huge fan of progressive rock. If you can do it right, you can do it right, and in my opinion, they're doing it right. I love hearing them, so we're very excited to have them. Next, we have Satin Banshee, who is a rock and blues band, Led Zeppelin type style hard rock blues, ripping. I kind of want to tell a funny story
Oh yeah.
Go
about
for
their guitar player. So sorry for telling this story, Satin Banshee, but this is true. The first time we saw Satin Banshee, I was completely disappointed. I was like, man, this guitarist is drunk off his mind. He's not hitting the notes, and this is just weak. I walked out of the room, and then we were playing with them again like a year later or something. And I walked in, and it was a completely different sound. Their guitarist clearly was sober. He was rocking. He was hitting every note. Like the things he was trying to do that I was like, come on, like you're clearly your skills aren't there. Like knock it off. Don't try that if you can't hit it. He was hitting it. He was ripping into it. And their rhythm section, of course, has always been holding it down. So they rock. They're solid. I hope they continue to be rock solid. So Set and Banshee, we're so excited to have them. Then we have Your Mom, which is an alternative psychedelic band. They rock. All I have to say is they just have good, solid songwriting, beautiful stuff. Their singer's got a beautiful voice. They got a beautiful guitar player. Bass player holds it down. Drummer holds it down. Great band. Then we got Machine coming in. Machine. They're a Chicago band. They're three fellas. Their drummer always wears a luchador mask, which is awesome. Sometimes the rest of them wear.
There you go.
part.
Talk about putting an identity out for yourself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes the rest of them wear luchador masks.
That's
I
awesome.
think they look awesome and they sound so
God, they
good.
rock.
Rock band. Cut out what Julian just said.
What did I say?
You said they fucking rock.
That's it. I didn't know. All right.
They rock. They absolutely rock. They're great dudes. And then up next, Sunset Drip. That's Chaboys. That's
Mhm.
us, who you've been listening to this whole time.
Ay.
And last, and certainly not least, we've got Sun Volume coming through, who Sun Volume are blowing up. Straight up. They're, watch out for them. They're blowing up. They're going to be playing festivals. They've
We're
got an
still-
insane sound.
We're still kind of amazed that they agreed to come play this show.
Yeah.
And we're like, you're aware of like who you are, right? And what this is. But hey, if they're down for it, it's gonna be an amazing garage show that night.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff you guys got planned for yourselves.
Yeah, and that's just that one show. Like, we're so excited for it. All these bands are going to be amazing. It's going to be a great day. Not to mention, we've got the music. We'll have face painting. We'll have vendors selling art, clothing, all sorts of stuff. The whole thing's going to be videotaped. We've got photographers coming in. It's going to be a very exciting day.
We have an artist called Omnia Soul who's doing a bunch of glitch art.
Yes.
Inside and outside the venue.
For like on stage, we're gonna have CRT TVs like on stage outside, and then the inside is gonna be a projection. And Omnia Soul will be doing. It's the Omnia Soul art show, and he does glitch art. Oh, it's beautiful.
Like on the screen, like
Yes.
with a little like controller thing.
I don't know if he'll be doing it live. If he is doing it live, like
That'd be
that'll be awesome. But he has YouTube videos that are like hours long. Like, you talk about artists who just do it because they love it. He has like YouTube videos, and I mean, none of them are like massively blowing up, but he keeps doing what he's doing, and they're gonna, because he publishes like new videos all the time, and they're all like an hour long of him just doing glitch art for an hour straight. And it's just like,
Oh, that's cool.
yo, this
So
dude,
cool.
like, talk about an artist.
So that's like, how do you guys get to know all these people? What's like your networking kind of like way that you get around Chicago?
It really is. I mean, like playing more shows and staying at the venue, talking to other people.
Yeah.
You can't play a show and then just dip. You
So you
gotta,
guys
like-
have played shows with almost all these bands before?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It's very
Sunbom's
cool.
the only one we haven't played with. I saw them with my
Okay.
own two
Yes.
eyes.
Okay.
And I was like, yes, these dudes. But that's kind of it. Yeah, it's like, not to be like I feel like telling somebody to garner some taste for themselves is kind of a very like, I don't know, I don't like that sentence, but like, go out and find your taste. All these bands, it's bands that we played with that we were like, yes, we want to play with those guys again. And it's not just out of like, like all these bands. It's, I forgot to mention Marble Teeth. Marble Teeth is coming as well. Marble Teeth is another insane artist who's playing at Drip Fest. He's based in Central Illinois. The way he's garnered his following is so beautiful, just so like grassroots. All of his songs get like thousands of listens, and it's the same, like, tell me an artist that that has these stats. He has like 4,000 monthly listeners, and like every single one of his songs has like around 5,000 listens. Like every single one. I'm telling you, those 4,000 people that are listening to him
They're
are
listening all the time.
listening to him.
Constantly.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
not just like he had a song blow up on TikTok and now some people have trickled into his Spotify.
No, it's completely organic.
It's completely organic. Not to mention, he makes his merch table. If any artists are out there listening, come to Drip Fest specifically to look at Marble Teeth's merch table. I'm pretty sure he makes, I mean, just from like watching his shows, I know that he like really a lot of his rent is paid through his merchandise. He's living in Central Illinois, so like but it's still like rent, dude. You're still, and he lives in Central Illinois, and he's up in Chicago every weekend
Wow.
to perform. So I mean, like every other weekend maybe, but like the dude is doing the thing.
Mhm.
And then his merch table, it's all homemade from his own home heat press, his home vinyl machine.
Awesome.
He makes his own stickers, he makes his own CDs, he makes his own cassettes. That's the way to do it. I can't tell you how many times I've walked up to a band's merch table and they have a stack of 50 white t-shirts with their black and white design on the front that was clearly printed. It's just one design on the front, nothing on the back, nothing on the sleeves, clearly printed in China. They bought 50 of them, and 50 of them are just sitting on the merch table, and it's like, dude,
They're not moving.
Not moving at all.
not a chance this is moving. Versus Marble Teeth, he really hopped on that. I don't know if you remember the trend a couple years ago where the fashion industry really got into the trend of like one release. Like somebody would thrift one item and then they would sell it and it would go for like $300 or something. Something crazy like that. But it was like a one of a kind sweater that I thrifted. So if you want this sweater, it's not available anywhere else. He does stuff like that where he thrifts something and he doesn't sell for that amount. But when bands are asking for $20 for a t-shirt, there better be a reason that this t-shirt is worth $20.
Yeah.
And he'll go out and thrift a t-shirt that's like Mark's Plumbing. And he'll put on like Mark's Plumbing listens to Marble Teeth.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. And that shirt will sell, and it's a one-of-a-kind shirt that's going to sell right away.
Wow.
And you show up to his shows and people are wearing like Marble Teeth has listeners. It's something like some shirt that's like all around the world. And it'll be like Marble Teeth has listeners all around the world.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Drip Fest 2024, it's going to be so exciting. We love all the artists. Back to, I guess, the question that led me where I got into the Marble Teeth thing. Go out and make those connections.
Yeah.
Social media, and this is kind of something that like is a talk I've had separately with many of these artists, Marble Teeth including. I just talked to him recently, and this was something that got brought up. Social media is great for, the reach and the getting around the country, but it's like I said with, I don't know if I said this on the podcast or before, but bands get into this purgatory where we know several bands who have over 10,000 followers who are, hypothetically, if you looked at them online, you would be like, these guys are huge. Like, these guys are blowing up. They're doing their thing, which I guess 10,000 followers isn't huge. But for a local band, I mean, the majority of local bands are going to cap out at like 700 followers before they break up. So to see a band with 10,000, it's like they're doing it, they're this and they're that. But these bands that are in that state, they're still in that purgatory of playing local shows. And so there is a level of like, the online exposure will only do so much for the physical band.
You got to
and,
get
like,
out
people
around
coming.
town. You
Yes.
got to go person to person.
Yes.
Yeah, it's much more organic that way anyway.
Yes.
Who's to say you don't have a bunch of people that are just liking it and never looking at it again?
Exactly.
And
That's most of social media. Like most of the traction that your band will get is just like swipe.
Right.
Keeping them engaged, it'll only happen by going out, making connections, and being annoying about it. You have to pester venues, pester bands about whether or not they want to play this or that.
Right.
Um,
And like we're almost at 1,000 followers for our Instagram. We are really like, I would use the word lucky if we have 1% of those people come out. If we have 10 people
Yeah.
come out to a show that are like, we're here to see Sunset Drip from a post we saw on social media, then like that's like praise the algorithm, But on the flip side, it's I've definitely found we've really started hanging up posters. And like when I'm going around shows going, yo, how'd you hear about the show? How'd you hear? Oh, I saw a poster. Oh, I was walking down the street, especially downtown.
Mhm.
I mean, downtown,
Just like on the lampposts, at coffee
Yeah.
shops.
me and the drummer Nick, we went up and down Michigan Avenue, and every single lamppost hung a poster for Y2K.
There you
And
go.
literally, when I was going around Y2K, how did you hear about this? Oh, I was, saw it on a lamppost, saw it this. The amount of people that saw it on social media, none, little to
Right.
none, maybe one or two. But like that's the thing is when you post it on social media,
Yeah.
you're posting to your band. When you're hanging something on Michigan Dam Avenue,
yeah.
you're hanging it on to like 10,000 people are gonna walk past that poster every day.
Yeah. And like with people's attention spans online, I mean, they might look at something for
Mhm.
3 seconds, scroll. But like you're standing at a stoplight. What else are you gonna do? You might
Right.
look at your phone, but you got to pay attention to the light. You might look around your surroundings and be like, oh, Look at this thing. I'm forced to look at this for the next 45 seconds
For
while I'm
sure.
waiting for the
Mhm.
light.
I didn't even think about that. That's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I mean, people see like event posts on Instagram and Facebook
All the time.
all the
It
time.
could be something
There's
in Minnesota.
exactly,
Yeah.
and like you see it and you don't even think about it in the next minute.
Versus
But
a
like
poster that's right there. It's like, oh, this is definitely within the next few blocks.
yeah, and like record shops are a big one too.
Yes.
We've met like artists that we played with. Mary,
Yes.
I forget the name of that record shop.
I do
but
too. But we went into a record shop. You want to tell it? You're talking.
I mean, we simply went in and we noticed Mary like at the
Well,
counter.
hang on. Let me
Well,
tell it then.
all right, then you go ahead.
So we went in and we were just going from record shop to record shop downtown going, hey, would there be any way we could hang this poster on your wall? And we had gotten to a couple no's. A couple like people
Mhm.
looked at the poster and went, no.
No.
And I went, really? And you go, this is a jazz record shop. And I went, and I'm literally like, I mean,
No way.
I had dead ass. I would like pointed. I
Wow.
was like, that is a like a King Gizzard record right there. Like, what do you mean? And he was like, I'm not hanging up your poster. Like, get out of here. And it was like,
Wow.
and it was like,
Way
man,
to support your local artists,
Mhm.
guys.
no. And that's the thing is like this, like deep
It's
breath.
okay. So the
Careful.
guys that did say yes.
Back to the positive side of
Of
things.
course.
We walk into this shop and we're like, hey, is there any way we could hang up this poster? And they gave us a look that was like, and I was like, like, damn, we're about to have another confrontation. And they're like, are you guys playing at this? Yeah, I'm playing at this. And we're
No way.
like, what? Like, yeah, I'm Mary. And we were like, like,
Oh my
it's a
God.
pleasure to meet you.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then Mary, like, it was just like, wow, that's really cool. Then at the show, like, itself, we invited her to Drip Fest. I pulled Julian into the room and was like, listen to this artist. And Julian's a huge industrial head. I love industrial music, but Julian's like Nine Inch Nails is one of his biggest. And so
Yes, sir.
Mary is like industrial. She's got all of the synthesizers in front of her, twisting
Oh.
knobs. Not only that, but then she's like doing it and she's got a recording going on and then she's singing and then she's ripping into the guitar. And it's
Oh,
like,
dude.
yo, and she's got odd time signature stuff.
Yeah.
She's experimenting with modes and weird scales. Like, Mary. If you're gonna listen to anybody, Mary, Sun Volume, Marble Teeth, Sunset Drip.
So you guys are talking about how much work goes into like making these projects and like getting out into the community. And earlier today we were talking about like identity. So like I wanted to touch on like the genre a little bit of what you guys are. And I know like I had listened to those songs earlier today, both Jitters and Ministry of Truth, and I got like a cool vibe of like it was like new metal mixed with like psychedelic mixed with like I could hear both like early 2000s vibes along with
Yeah.
like new vibes along with like some 90s stuff. Like it's a really cool concoction that you guys have that I think is definitely individual to you guys, which is pretty cool. What do you guys think about like what would you call
Well,
yourselves?
thank you.
You're making me blush, man.
Oh.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Like, that's what we aspire to, you
I
know?
hope it sounds good. I mean, like, he and I, like Johnny and I have, I feel like we do have very similar like artist interests, and we also have very opposite
Yeah.
artist interests. Like there are some quote unquote guilty pleasure music, which I don't believe in that term, but
Well, that's the thing too, is we both love our guilty pleasure music. Like, we'll send each other straight up like what was that? ITGIRL. You know I am that girl. We love when that song was popping, we were bumping that song.
yeah, you have to get some of the weirder non Sunset Drip sound into your head a little bit, just sort of diversify the sound of the song itself.
Because if
But,
you only
like,
listen to like hard rock, you're gonna end up being Greta Van Fleet, where
Ex-
everyone's gonna be like, you sound like Led Zeppelin.
and like
Yeah.
with Jitters, like Johnny said, I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. I've been for a long time, and there are moments when I started writing that song like a couple years ago, and that was when I was, of course, very deep into my Nine Inch Nails phase. And I could hear myself like, man, I'm starting to sound exactly like Trent Reznor. And that's not what I kind of want to do that, but it's not really what I want to do. And so then, Johnny, I think you really did bring like a sort of King Gizzard influence into it that it really does just change the whole identity of the song itself.
Same thing with Ministry. Ministry originally was like, I originally wrote Ministry because I wanted to. A lot of times when I'm approaching a song, I'm like, I want to write a Rolling Stones song. Like, I want to have a song that I can go on stage and feel like Mick Jagger. You know, I can get up there and be like swaggerish and this and that. It's the kind of thought of like when I was talking about earlier when you're sitting at a desk songwriting and you're just sitting to yourself. Sometimes when you're playing that to a crowd, you're like, I do not want to be playing this song right now to a crowd of people. Like, this is, like, my ex-girlfriend broke my entire heart and I'm being completely vulnerable right now. You're kind of like, okay, this next song is, gonna skip that one. But like with Ministry of Truth, it was the thought of I want to have a King Gizzard like song where I can get up there and rip into some guitar and rip and just like and like get crazy with the drums and make it this big bombastic thing. And so I started writing it in the style of Gizzard. And then I was really getting into like Slipknot at the time, and it started just getting heavier and heavier. And when Julian came in, like I said, I started really getting into Slipknot, and I mean, it's just like you said, there's all these influences that we want to put into our music, and I think it's important just one piece at a time. Like I said, with the songwriting, I start with a Gizzard mentality, and then going into production, I kind of moved into a Slipknot mentality, and then the whole time, vocally, I wanted it to be more Muse-esque, where I had like a cleaner vocal where it wasn't like I wanted to be like I wanted to have some kind of like clarity in there with the vocals where it was like, oh, okay, there's some singing in there, and then pre-chorus hits ba 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 ba, and that because like that's part of like going back to Slipknot. I love how diverse they are. I feel like when you say that new metal sound, for me, when we like new metal is one of those genres that when we dive into new metal, it feels like it's like 5 different genres. Like the 2 big new metal bands are Slipknot and Korn. And I am a die-hard Slipknot fan, and I could give or take Korn. And so that's kind of that thing when you talk about like genre, it's so like, I think it's important to take the piece of art and work backwards in terms of like labeling it versus like, oh, that band is new metal. And so like in terms of like us going forward, we have a ton of influence. Julian's got a bunch of industrial influence. I've got a bunch of psychedelic influence. And then at the core of it, like Julian and I think we both started as like Beatles fans.
Like Rock 101.
Rock 101, And so, and like even you hear some of the, like there's a guy from Slipknot who will be like, yeah, I heard, he'll say like, I heard the Immigrant song. Like the guitarist from Lamb of God was talking about writing a song, and he was like, I wanted to write something like the Immigrant song, and then it came up, and then he like plays the song that he ended up writing, and it's never in a million years would a listener be able to be like, yeah, that came from the Immigrant song, but knowing that like, oh, he took the Immigrant song and made it into his thing is like, oh, that's a beautiful thing, and like it's a direct pipeline. It's not like, oh, Led Zeppelin influence. It's like, no. Because every piece of art, like you look at Picasso, right? A Picasso piece, if I said like a Picasso painting, everybody who just heard that word, a Picasso painting, pictured a completely different thing because he went through so many different like genres of painting. Yeah. Because he was, and I feel like that's a big thing with when we really get down to like artists. Like we were talking about Trent Reznor or King Gizzard, the Beatles. You have to just like, you just want to explore. Even when we look at like pop stars who don't change genre, we look at like the songwriter who is writing their stuff, and the songwriter is certainly changing genre. They might, the artist might bring in a different songwriter to keep their country style going or their pop style going, but when we really look at who's doing like the crunching, Max Martin, Jack Antonoff, like who's really in the pits, that new guy there's a guy who, you've heard of Olivia Rodrigo, you've heard of Chapel Roan, you've heard of Conan Gray, perchance. Conan Gray is a little more underground, like
a little bit.
It's a little bit. He's like a pop artist who's really well known, but he's more in like, I guess, King Gizzard level, where they've heard the name.
Is he like
maybe
Noah
not.
Khan level?
Sure.
He had
100%.
like a devoted like crowd, but like the song like Heather, if anyone knows that one, that was like a huge hit.
You'd have to hum the melody. I know that one.
Why I'm not even half as pretty.
Yes.
Gave me your sweater. Some polyester, that one.
Anyway, there's a guy, Dan Nigro, who's written all the Olivia Rodrigo hits that you're hearing, written by Dan Nigro. All the Chapel Roan hits you're hearing, written by Dan Nigro. And then Conan Gray stuff. I always thought Conan Gray was an original artist because he is kind of on that. He's written a lot of Conan Gray's stuff. And so for me, I don't know. I kind of just started rambling, but we are very much like we just have to write and do what's, one of my lyrics is like, or I guess not even going into that lyric, but like a big thing for me is like you got to follow your instincts to a certain
Yeah.
point. Like there's a certain point, like relationships, life, yada yada. You can logic the hell out of yourself, but it's not gonna work.
I feel like genre is not something that like as artists like we get to even choose for ourselves. I feel
Nope.
like that's the
Mm-mm.
audience, because really like for me what I am is like my genre is a combination of everything I've listened to.
Yeah.
Everybody that I've liked, I've forced myself to listen to people I don't like just to
For
learn
sure.
things to
Yeah.
put it in my tool belt. I actually, unpopular opinion, I did not like the Beatles until I was 21 years old.
For sure.
I can
And I
understand.
forced myself to listen because I was like, look at all these artists. Like every single one of them, they're like some influenced by the Beatles. You guys like all rock artists, whatever. And I'm like, there has to be a reason why all these people are listening to them. So I forced myself to listen to what's that? Is it just one? The Red album with
Yeah,
the
the
number
one-
one on it? Yeah.
Right.
So I made myself listen to all of that, and then I listened to a few of their other albums, and then
That's
by
like
the end of
remixes
it,
too, one, isn't it?
I believe it's like mainly like the bigger hits
yeah.
that are remastered at that time.
Yeah.
I think one is
They're mainly
remixes because
remastered.
one has I'm pretty sure one has the
Well-
acapella version of Because, and it has
No,
like that.
no, that's the Cirque du Soleil. That's Love.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You're right. You're the one is just
Yeah.
the hits. Okay.
But I'm like, by the end of it, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I can see it. It's like not gonna be like my go-to, but like, there's definitely like now I've pulled a few songs from there. I'm like, this song's a bop. Yes,
Yeah.
I can drive with this song. The one song that I don't like though, I can never get over it, is "Hey Jude."
For sure.
I was
Like,
gonna say,
you
yeah.
know,
it's just a piano ballad.
yeah, and I've taught
It's
it
the
to too
ending
many
is the
kids.
big thing. The
That it's exactly.
Every
Everybody
time
knows it, but you don't realize how long that
Yeah.
ending is.
Oof.
You're like, whoa.
It's half the song.
Speaking of which, a fun question that I always like to ask everybody: what is a song that you just do not like right now? What's a song that like you hear it and you're just like ultimate cringe?
I've got one.
Go
Sure,
for it.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was talking about Dan Nigro earlier, right? He's like a 30-something-year-old dude, and he's writing music for Chapel Roan. And so I like that song Hottottogo. You can take me hot to go. You don't know that one?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think
neither of
maybe.
you know that? Seriously? Really? Okay, well, that song is all over the radio right now, and it's really annoying. I don't even listen to the radio, but like all the other pop artists, like I listen to Charlie XCX, I listen to Lord, yada yada. Every single time the radio station comes on, Hot to Go is the first song that comes up on the Spotify radio stations for all of those artists. And it was written by Dan Nigro, who's like a 30-year-old dude. And it's such a song that's like la 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 girl pop that like I loved it at first and enjoyed it. And then I kind of really started thinking about a 35-year-old dude sitting in a room writing this song. Like Hottottogo. And then there's a lyric in the song that's like, baby, do you like this beat? I made it so you dance with me. And it's kind of feeding into that ghostwriter thing of like, oh, I'm Chapel Roan. I made this beat. And now the entire song just... And I probably shouldn't get on my Chapel Roan slander right
This is
now.
a rant I've heard all too much.
Yeah.
I love it, but like, God, man, I know. There's a lot of ghostwriters.
Yeah.
That whole time I was thinking, what song do I really not like right now? And it's not a new one. Because I work at a retail place, I hear the same 80s songs over and over and over
I
again.
think I know which one you're going to say.
If I have to hear "Come Sail Away, Come Sail Away," oh my God, I don't care. I'm not on unless I'm drunk on a boat. I don't want to hear "Come Sail."
Yeah, it's got to be super annoying being in like a fluorescent lighted warehouse store.
Yeah.
Hearing like, come sail away.
I
Rubbing
gotta
it in
say,
your face.
mine
Ugh.
has to be "Happy" by Pharrell. That song gives
Yeah.
me
Oh,
the
that's a
biggest
big one,
cringe in the
that.
world. And my mom loves that song. So no matter how she plays it, I'm like, please don't. And it's just so funny. And I gotta say, like, so teaching here at the store, I teach kids rock bands, like music, and they're like middle schoolers, some are high schoolers, but I've learned to never teach a band a song that I like, because then it turns into, it turns into something I
Start
hate.
to not like it.
Like, I've got
Yeah.
this one band, they do a bunch of Weezer songs, and like they sound great, but I'm like also like I can't do it
So much
anymore. I'm
Weezer.
so
Yeah.
Weezered out. Like, what do
Something
I
else I have
do?
to do in terms of that is we do our cover band stuff, and so kind of same thing. You pick out songs that you like. Um, and for me, it's nice being with these guys. We do try to listen to it as like little as possible. Like
Yeah.
one practice the day before the cover set, and then like cover set we hit it, and then on stage you get that magic of you're playing it. So it's like okay, but then like any other time it's on the radio, nope, like
Mhm.
absolutely
Yep, yep,
not
yep,
listening
yep.
to Satisfaction anymore by the Rolling Stones. Have not listened to that one since we started covered it. Even Lonely Boy is something I skip now because it's like I don't want to hear it if I'm
Yeah.
not playing it, you know. But in that same realm, of like genres, I do not. Well, I guess this is kind of a 90-degree or 180 backwards, but like any trap music these days,
Of course.
like sorry, but like I'm over it. I'm over it. Like somebody, and the thing too is people always go like, "Oh, dude, you gotta hear the beat on this." Oh, okay. I've had enough.
But I think we feel that way because we come from like a very nitty gritty songwriting perspective, and when we hear that kind of beat over and over, we're like, it's another factory cookie cut beat
Yes.
that's like the same piano riff, and then loud all the way on the left side, the bass and the kick spiking, and then just vocals take everything else up.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. To the average listener, some people just like it simpler. Some people are
Yeah.
a main thing that like people always go back to is something they know, something they're comfortable with, and that's where they go. So
That's why like
Mhm.
people love to talk about like back in the 70s we had real songwriters. Like no, we still do. That's kind of the thing. It's not no we did not. It's just that we still do. It's just that like the bubblegum pop always rises to the surface. It's always gonna be and the biggest thing too is you got to think about the biggest market for that bubblegum pop is young 13-year-olds who haven't discovered their music taste yet.
exactly.
They're
Yeah.
literally they've listened to their parents' stuff their whole life, and now they're like listening to the radio and they're going, "Oh, this isn't my mom and dad stuff. This is new stuff that my friends know and this and that, and it's popular and XYZ."
Everything on 103.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like there's good stuff like Cage the Elephant gets played, like kids know Cage the Elephant, kids know Steve Lacy. Steve Lacy rocks. Kids know Tame Impala. Like
Yeah.
great songwriters, great talent, great skill rises to the top still, and it's still there. The bubblegum pop is just never gonna
Yeah.
go away, and it's something you shouldn't be worried about as an artist. Rick Beato, do you guys know who Rick Beato is?
No.
I actually don't.
He's this musician on YouTuber who's like an old theory head who constantly goes into blah blah blah. He's got these rants about the new music is going downhill, and he just recently said an opinion that was like that has literally like you guys know who Anthony Fantano is, right? You don't know who Anthony
Oh,
Fantano
what?
is?
Mm.
The needle drop, really? Okay,
The
he's
internet's busiest music nerd.
the internet's busiest music. Hello, Anthony Fantano here. The internet's I gotta give this a week 6 or a light 6. No, nothing, not ringing a bell.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. So Anthony Fantano is probably like the most well-known music critic on YouTube. And so like anyway, Rick Beato comes out and he made this statement of like he essentially said it's such a garbage video. It's so fun to watch. Like I said, everyone's just going in and tearing it apart. But he essentially said that technology is like limiting the creativity of new artists. And he immediately says, I could be wrong about that. Which he
Very
is.
wrong.
Like literally we were talking about the Beatles, and part of the Beatles is they went from being a boy band who was writing music on their guitars. Their first couple albums are just recorded, their live set recorded essentially, 2 guitars, drum kit, bass. Suddenly they get into the studio and they have a willingness to really go with this new technology that like other bands were. It's something we even hear today. Like, oh, don't quantize, don't do this, don't do that. Like, if you're quantizing your drums, it's ruining rock and roll. Like, half the drums on Prince's Purple Rain are drum machines.
Yeah.
Are we really gonna sit here and argue that Prince's Purple Rain isn't like a great rock album?
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not. We're not even gonna entertain that idea. So like, for us, I guess wrapping it back into it, like us, I guess is like we are really embracing of like new technology. Jitters has a theremin on it, which isn't
Yeah,
new
dude.
technology,
Oh, that's
but like,
cool.
but yeah, it's that thing that like you like.
Yeah, it goes
woo, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to the bridge, there's like these revs and then these. It's a theremin, and it was like initially I was like Julian. I know what the Bridge of Jitters needs, and he was like, absolutely it doesn't. Like,
Dude, yeah, but like
Hey,
having this
don't knock it
like,
till you try it, man.
well, like this in like industrial sort of electronic punk song, hearing the word theremin was like, huh? Well, what do you mean you want to throw in the wee woo box in there?
The
But like,
wee woo box.
but
Awesome.
but like when you hear that and it's the first time hearing that suggestion, to me like all I hear is the theremin and that idea, and it's like, of course that wouldn't work. But like coming to an understanding of like it's buried, it's subtle, it will add more, and absolutely it did.
I
Yeah.
just saw Kashmir, the Led Zeppelin cover band.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
I was there. He wasn't.
Okay.
well, so they played at Summerfest, but we also I'm in a Doors cover band, of
Right.
Perception and American Prayer. Check them out. But we were playing at the Long Grove Strawberry Fest, and they closed that day, and I didn't get to see too much of it.
Was that the 29th or the 30th? Was it the 30th?
I don't remember.
I think I was gonna go to that, and I like couldn't because we were playing a show.
Well, I missed a majority of the performance of Kashmir
it
at
Aurora?
Summerfest. No, it was in Long Grove.
Okay, my bad.
It was in Long Grove. But he had a theremin on stage, a theremin. I don't know if I'm
Theremin.
theremin. So he was using that. He had oh my god, what's it called? You crank it and you
Yes, a hurdy-gurdy.
Hurdy-gurdy.
No, is that it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he had like 12 guitars and they're all dressed up, and I'm just like this is so much work that you guys are putting in. Like they got there like 5 hours early for load-in to like tune
Yeah.
everything. And I can't even imagine having to do all that. But like
God.
for the performance, it just adds such another like element. And you're just like, what is that? Like you have to watch and see what they're doing.
Yes.
Like it's so cool.
I didn't see them that night, or like Kashmir I'm talking about. I didn't see Kashmir that night, but when I saw it backstage, they're rolling in the gong. Like,
Oh.
oh, I can't imagine how good it would be.
Yeah. Jimmy Page, quote unquote, showed up with his wig on.
Yeah.
Like that, like
Yeah.
7 hours before the show, the wig was on. He was backstage chit chatting with us. My partner did not know that it was a Led Zeppelin cover band. She thought genuinely that like this was just like she thought like in the way that Sunset Drip is the four, like that's us, where we just dress up the way we want to dress and get on stage. She thought these dudes who are wearing wigs, like these, I hate to say obvious wigs, but like these dudes who are wearing obvious wigs, who are like in their 50s, who have their shirts, the lead guy's got his shirt open like Robert Plant.
Mhm.
The other guy, he's, he looked like he was in his 60s and he was still moving gnarly, but he's full on in the dragon suit like Jimmy Page. They're all dressed up. And at some point she leans over to me and goes, "So what's these guys' deal?" And I go like, what do you mean? And she goes like, "Why are they dressed like that?" And I'm like, "That's how the band dresses." And she's like, "Huh. So like you really like these guys, huh?" And I'm like, yeah. And she's like they're really good. Like their music, like it feels like why are they playing at Summerfest? Like all these songs are amazing. And I'm like, I know, like they're like Led Zeppelin rocks.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Led Zeppelin?"
Oh.
Because it says like Kashmir
Yeah.
behind them, and she's like and I'm like,
Oh.
they're a Led Zeppelin cover band. And she's like, "Who is Led Zeppelin?"
Oh no!
What?
She like thought that these 50-year-old dudes were dressing up like that and they were playing like that level of music, and she could not believe they were playing to like this crowd at Summerfest. She was like, "This is one of the most amazing bands I've ever heard. Like, what the hell? Who are these guys? What is this?" Like, and it's just awesome to see that breakage of like, because she was just like sitting there so dumbfounded, like, what is going on here?
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it was awesome.
That was her first experience of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Live
Mhm.
show.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much as close as you can take it. Like Kashmir is a great cover band. They've been around for 27 years.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
the guitar player, I forget what his name was, but
Jimmy Page.
sure, go ahead. But he's the only founding member still left. Everybody has been
Wow.
like in and out, but he's been with that band for 27 years. Like, can you
You can tell.
imagine? Like, so 27 years from now, what you guys are gonna be almost 50
Damn.
Oh
in
my
your
God.
50s. The Sunset Drip, baby.
Damn. Yeah. I'm like literally, I would be 52.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You can tell he's got the pack. He was doing black magic on stage. I've read 2 Jimmy Page biographies. One of them was written by somebody who considers themselves like a warlock and like into black magic. So he like really went into like everything, all the evidence and everything Jimmy Page ever did that was related to black magic. And you watch Jimmy Page on stage, and he does like a little like some things. He does like he does the cross to the people, and he'll do this thing. That guy, the all night was doing his little his wizardry, and I was like, there was a level I almost was like, should I get out of here? Like, am I safe?
Am I cursed?
All right, well, I
blessing
kind
us
of
or
want to bring
cursing?
it back in and
Right,
wrap
right.
this up a little bit. So, big things, big announcements. Keep an eye on Sunset Drip. They've got projects coming out. Look them up on YouTube. Give them a like, give them a
Yes.
follow. Check out their Facebook page for events. They are playing all the time.
Can I give some specifics?
Go ahead, yeah.
EP1 is coming out. We've got 2 singles out right now, Jitters and Ministry of Truth. They're both out on Spotify and Apple Music. We have 2 more singles coming out, and then, that'll be the EP. After that, we've got another EP on its way. We're in the stew recording it, getting the overdubs finished up. And we've got more stuff coming out after that. Drip Fest 2024, be there August 17th. It's a great lineup. You don't want to miss all those bands. Follow our social media. All the music's on all the streaming services.
Does it cost to get into Drip Fest?
It'll be $10 to get into Drip Fest.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And I want to do a quick lightning round of some fun questions.
Okay.
Ready? So, number 1, favorite color, go.
Orange.
Red.
Number 2, beach or mountain?
I've mountains any day. The beach sucks. Done with it. Beach has been cruel to me every time.
It's a mood for me.
It's
Honestly,
okay.
beach. I also
I
beach.
sunburn
Huh.
just thinking about the sun, so it's all right.
Mm.
Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Hamburgers.
Burgers.
Cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers.
Gotta get
Got them
some cheese.
cheeseburgers, man.
Randy.
Chinese food or Mexican food?
Chinese.
Mexican for me.
Wow, we are different.
Yeah, we are.
Acoustic or electric?
Electric.
Electric.
Writing or performing?
Writing to me.
I'd
I-
probably also say writing.
Yeah, I could go like I could be happy with like being a writer for music or something then, and if I didn't have to perform, I would be content with that.
That's a great way to
If
put
that
it.
was
If
my
I had to
life.
perform somebody else's music for the rest of my life and I didn't get to write,
Hmm.
Felt that.
yeah.
All right, guys, thank you for watching. Again, we have Johnny and we have Julian. Check out Sunset Drip. We are House of Music. Check us out on YouTube. It is House of Music Orland. And we got a Facebook page. We have a venue. We have a recording studio, which we're in right now. If you're interested in using our recording studio, check us out. And thank you for watching HOM TV.
Thank you for having us,
Bye.
Alyssa.
Thank you for having us.
Woo!